is one such historic organization that has been serving humanity for 150 years. As my talk is for 20 minutes and the history is very long, let me go dive into the talk directly. During the later part, the last 25 years of the 19th century, America was going through an acme of materialism. The industrialization and the pace of industrialization in America especially had taken its toll on the lives of its people. Many of the industries left behind famished workers were living in working conditions and a wayward life for many of the marginalized people in America. But on the other side, we had a few elite spiritual seekers who wanted to get away from all this and find another world through spirituality. Unfortunately, though, spiritualism became the talk of the day in America, which was actually mistook as a spiritual evolution of human consciousness. Our founders, Elena Blavatsky, about whom I will not talk much here, was also trapped into this spiritualism. And when she came to America in 1873, she was a medium, very popular both in New York and Philadelphia. She was actually drawn in Cairo, where she made her first foray into the wide world of journeying in search of her masters who appeared in a dream. Not knowing who these masters were and where they lived, she first arrived in Egypt and was influenced by Allan Kardec, a French spiritualist master, whose book, and knowing French, she was impressed by his books and a series of books that he had published, although she never met him. She even started the Societe Spiritus de Cairo, very interesting organization, but floundered shortly after it was opened up. So this was the second stint in spiritualism for Madame Blavatsky, but soon she gets in touch with those masters, the Eastern masters who've been appearing in a dream, the first contact being at Hyde Park in London. Having been introduced to the masters, from then on, they become her pole stars, and also pole stars for the Theosophical movement as such. Master Kuthumi, Master Moria, living the trans-Himalayan region of Shigutsu in Tibet. So once she gets in touch with these masters, her life changes drastically, and she writes a letter to her sister Vera. Sometimes I feel I have two bodies inside me. I feel a strange sensation of not being me when I write and when I think. So this was possibly the presence of the masters in Blavatsky's writing that evolves later as master's letters, which helps her in writing her sacred documents like Secret Doctrine and so on. Initially, the Theosophical Society was founded. It was mooted around September 7, 1875, with 17 members. 3 of them were, of course, the founding members of the Theosophical Society, Madame Helena Blavatsky, her newfound friend and lifelong companion and compatriot, Henry Steele Olcott, and William Quan Judge, a young 23-year-old lawyer. These 3 together were the founding fathers of the Theosophical movement. I should also mention a 4th person here, which interested me during my research on music, was Emma Hardinge Britton. Emma was a prodigy, child prodigy, and a concert pianist, and she worked as an actress in Paris for a few years before she left for America in search of the spiritualist movement. Emma, too, was a very active member of the 70s and was more into magic and rituals. So, according to academics who do research on esotericism and theosophy, I would like to quote to give you a non-partisan history. Um, a professor of religion and esoteric department in the University of Amsterdam by the name of Walter Hanegraaff writes about the first Theosophical Society. And I leave it to you and to understand whether his observations are true and correct. But I think it is very valid. He says when the first Theosophical Society was formed in New York, Blavatsky had no deep first first-hand experience of Hinduism and Buddhism. Therefore, he says the New York Lodge, which was opened in 1875, was more of an Western esoteric organization. And he also says at that time, Blavatsky was only familiar with Ein Sof and the Sephiroth from the books she would have read, the Kabbalah. He later on says that it's after her arrival to the east and the Orient, Bombay, where she lands in 1879, that her hands-on experience in studying Hinduism and Buddhism adds up to a rich resource where she writes all the spectacular books such as Isis Unveiled, Secret Doctrine, and so on. That he says is the second phase. And the third phase of Theosophical history, when the Theosophy is introduced to the West, the kind of revolutionary impact it had, and made it a universal religion. But after coming to Bombay, as you know, she went to Ceylon with Colonel Olcott, practiced Panchsheel, and came to know more about Buddhism. But in her literature, we see not Theravada Buddhism, but Tibetan Buddhism, where she learns from the Tibetan lamas and masters in the Shingsu Valley of Tibet. Similarly, I would say not only the founders had helped revive Buddhism and build up Buddhist nationalism in Sri Lanka, they also did the same for the Zoroastrian community in Bombay. The Zoroastrian community of Bombay at that point of time were getting more materialistic, and the Theosophical Society and Blavatsky Lodge in particular, which she founded in 1880, happened to be a hotbed of Zoroastrian activities. They had their youth groups, they had their music, they had the Zoroastrian lesson classes, they even had a rowing club. So the Zoroastrian community found a good platform. So I would credit Blavatsky and the founders of having revived and directed the young Zoroastrian youth in the right direction. The third plank on which the theosophical contribution has been in Hinduism, obviously, where she introduces Hinduism and Sanskrit to the West. Gauri Viswanathan, professor of Columbia University, was at a talk here. She says, the Theosophy takes the credit of introducing Sanskrit, Hinduism, and Buddhism in the West. It is subsequent that the Vedantists have gone to the West and introduced these Eastern Oriental philosophies. Today, Hinduism and Buddhism are the most thriving spiritual groups in the West through yoga, through Zen meditation, through mindful meditation, and so on. And it is the Theosophical Society that has to be credited for this great, big change of events in the Western Hemisphere. The Theosophical Society has made all religions universal, and it's very secular and inclusive in nature, and that is the reason it has survived this long. It is the founders and its members' fervor and dedication selflessly that has made it possible to celebrate this event today. Therefore, it is not the number that matters, because we are just 27,000 people around the world in 60 countries who have managed to make this institution allowed and thriving. I was recently in Vancouver, where I could see young people take interest in Theosophy, and I see a great future ahead for the Theosophical movement. The Theosophical movement impacted directly and indirectly, hugely in the West especially. The area of art, for example, we had people like Kandinsky, Mondrian, Ilma of Clint, all of them theosophists who were impacted in their painting, and the finding of and the beginning of modernism in painting is credited to the Theosophical Society. Similarly, Karibias Strobesky, a Polish theosophist who founded the Warsaw Theosophical Society, also discovered that the theosophical literature had a great deal of feminism that has been introduced. It is natural that even in our first object, we were the first to propagate against gender bias, no discrimination against sexes, as we say. In fact, Blavatsky is a roaring example of how a woman could go around the world the last century alone with very limited funding. And also, other examples like Annie Besant, who was a powerhouse of a leader, are examples of the theosophical movement who have shown us that theosophy is a channel for us to find out our internal talents and whatever it is through art, through music, through architecture, whatever. And Annie Besant, initially a theist, was attracted to Blavatsky and became a protege when she read The Secret Doctrine. And that later on, she took over the mantle of theosophic literature, writing volumes, translating Hindus and Hindu scriptures and books, and also promoting young Indians to work towards self-emancipation. She believed that young Indians had to be prepared for freedom. Therefore, she started the Central Hindu School in Varanasi and also the New Life of India movement. She and Gandhi worked together despite some differences and contributed to the philosophical movement and Indian independence struggle. She was interned for anti-British activities, which she took it bravely upon her. Annie Besant also should be credited for having uh, built up education as an important platform in theosophical work, along with Alcott too, who built the first Harijan school in the city of Madras, the Alcott school as it's called today. So the Theosophical Society, as we have no time to talk about its international contribution, will be more India-centric, has been a great harbinger of change in Indian consciousness. And also, Mahatma Gandhi writes in his book, By Experience the Truth, it is after his tryst with the Theosophical Society in Johannesburg and later in London. In Johannesburg, he says he had gone to the Theosophical Society in search of a vegetarian meal run by a German theosophist. And similarly, he was in touch with the Catley brothers in London. He says it was Theosophy who made him realize the richness of his own religion, which he, as you know, became a proponent in its highest exposition. Similarly, the Theosophical Society, another big Indian leader who has been impacted with the Jawaharlal Nehru family. According to one lodge member, Mrs. Saxena, who has written an article in Synergy, she says the initial classes were in Jawaharlal in the Theosophical Society was in the residence of Pandit Nehru. We have such important leaders who have been impacted by Theosophy, and Theosophy has played a very crucial role in many countries. I can also add, it's impossible for me to cover the impact Theosophy had in many countries, but recently I had written the history of the Theosophical movement in East Africa, and I was surprised to know the British banned the secret doctrine, and one of its founder of the lodge, Mr. Dwivedi, Brother Dwivedi, was almost sent to the guillotine. But fortunately for him, his train arrived late and he was spared of his life and returned to India. So the impact of Theosophy in the Irish freedom movement through people like W.B. Yeats and A.E. Russell are all well known. And in Canada, Lauren Harris, a theosophist, was the first to break away to Canadian nationalism. At that point of time, Canada did not have an independent school of art. Fortunately, we were in Lauren Harris country recently, and the group of 7 paintings we could see in the museum. So similarly in Cuba, in Indonesia, as you keep reading the history of the Theosophical movement, you'll be surprised to see its impact in every field of life. Architecture, the Bauhaus School, music, like Scriabin, Cyril Scott were all theosophists who used the medium of theosophical channel to express their music, art, and other expressions in a divine and very fulfilling way. Therefore, the theosophical movement has contributed very richly to the humanity, not only in India or in New York where it was founded, but also to the entire. In fact, they say as early as 1891, the Theosophy had 300 lodges in 6 continents. It only shows of its exponential growth the Theosophical Society and Theosophy has had. I would like to stick on to my time schedule and end with this quote by Madame Blavatsky, The Key to Theosophy. She says, Theosophy will never die. It is for eternity. The Theosophical Society depends on its workers, how deeply they study the divine wisdom and how deeply they understand it, and more importantly, how they promote it through their own lives. Altruism, that's the key word she tries to emphasize on. I'm sure there are young people here in this audience who would possibly celebrate the 200th year, and we bless those young people to work for this 200th year celebration. Thanks to all the founders, the leaders, the past servers, and the present servers. Each one of you have gathered here, have contributed unknowingly to this great movement, which has actually been the pleasant side of history amidst wars and degradation, against poverty and conflicts. Theosophy is actually the pink side of history. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much, Arnie. That was such an inspiring talk. There were so many nuggets of beauty in it. And I would love to hear more from you. Maybe if there is time later on, you have given yourself a few minutes less. You could have given yourself a few more minutes, but it was wonderful, especially the Zoroastrian part, the encouragement that they got. All that was really wonderful. So now I welcome Adi Keshav Shastri ji. 1 minute, let me pin him. So I'll quickly introduce. I request Pradeep ji to pin him. Uh, Adi Keshav Prakash Shastriji is from Davangere in Karnataka. He's an engineer, he's an MBA and postgraduate in Sanskrit literature. He's an educational researcher, trainer, and software consultant. He's been in Theosophic service from 1977. And he's going to be talking about a topic which interests us all: how to disseminate theosophy at the present situation. So go ahead, sir. Most welcome. You are mute, sir. Why are you mute? No, sir, we can't hear you. Can you exit and join back? Maybe it'll work.
Your voice is not audible.
Yes, sir. I asked him to exit and join back.
No, Mahesh.
Yes, sir.
No, let him come. So I paused for a moment.
I heard someone. Who was that? No, 1 minute. We are waiting for the speaker to join.
Yes, he joined.
Sir, can you say something? No, sir, you are not audible. Can you switch off your video and try? Now speak, sir. No, sir, we can't hear you. Sir, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, there was some problem with settings.
It's okay, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Now you can start.
Good evening, one and all. I'm sorry, there was a technical glitch. Okay. Yes, I hope you can see the presentation also.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now start.
Remembering, praying for all Mahatmas. So we will discuss today about the decimation of Theosophy in the present era. I have called it reach in and reach out. Reach in and reach out. And as told, I am from Krishna Theosophical Society from Davangere, and I belong to Karnataka Federation. The first one is the first point I raise is why we need to disseminate Theosophy. The first important aspect is, yes, the present scenario of the world. Yes, and the present scenario, it needs the meaning, the exact understanding of universal brotherhood. And we see practically what's happening in this whole world, that brotherhood is not at all an important aspect for the socio-political situation in this world. So we need to disseminate the theosophical knowledge. And the second point I would raise is the lack of understanding of occult path and its importance to discover the hidden secrets in nature. Basically, being human beings, we have been indulged in so much of physical world that we never think about the hidden secrets which are very much required for us to walk in the path of occultism. And this needs to be taken to the public, to the people around us, and that's why we need to propagate theosophy in a proper way. And the third important aspect to consider why to disseminate theosophy is to reach beyond the physical science and to reach the epitome of metaphysical sciences. We are so bound by the physical sciences that we forget that there is more vast, more interesting, more required science, which is a metaphysical science. And we need to accumulate the knowledge of these physical sciences to understand ourselves better and understand the path in which we are walking in a better way. So that is why we need to disseminate theosophy to the present world in this present scenario. And yes, it is also a very much required factor that we need to understand, that to study the different religions in a comparative way without any prejudice and irrationalism. This is a very required process in our process of moving towards the unknown, wherein which the comparative studies that are taking place these days are filled up with all kind of prejudices and irrationalisms. We don't respect, we don't accept, we don't listen to some other tattva. Tattva means that is that. And that is why the need of the day, the need of the second, is to propagate theosophy in a better manner. The other aspect, being a science student, I always tell everybody, yes, two there are two kinds of evolution that are discussed nowadays. One is the law of evolution. It is only a law put forth by Darwin, and we accept Darwinism theory. Most of the people, we accept Darwinism theory, but we tend to forget that there is an universal law of evolution, and that law of universal law of evolution, it occurs post Darwinism theory. So however intelligent, however the growth we have achieved in science, we have never thought of what after Darwin. This is the greatest question. That is because nobody thinks. Whenever something happens, we see the witnesses, we see all what has happened, and we tend to learn from what we are. We ask the question why, and we learn all those things. But I believe theosophy is the only way wherein which the universal law of evolution, after the Darwinistic theory, that is required. So, to propagate that, to understand ourselves better, we need to disseminate theosophy. Now, the greatest problem comes how to do it. What is the process of doing it? Being a consultant myself, to disseminate theosophy in a proper way, we need to have 5 point program. The first one I call it as internal propagation. The second one is the external propagation. The third one is influential propagation. The fourth point is scientific propagation, and propagating theosophy in a technological way. If these 5 point programs are adopted, definitely we can extend the knowledge path to so many other people who are interested and who are unaware of the real truth that is existing today. These 5 points can be easily achieved, and there is no hard and fast rule to follow all this. Definitely, we need to adopt these five processes. The first process I'll call is the internal propagation. This internal propagation, as stated here, this internal propagation, we need to build a strong bond between our international, national, state, and individual lodges. And it encourages a close, knit bonding between us. Definitely, that is what is the requirement of the day. Because being a theosophist for almost 50 years, uh, I have found out that yes, there is a lack of something called communication between all these things, especially whether it is national. If you talk about only our national federation, uh, the real communication that could have happened is not happening now. I mean, it has not been happening for the past years. Nowadays it is gaining up, but really there has to be a scenario where all these lodges individually have to work together to propagate theosophy in a better way. The second point I would raise, yes, we have to encourage interlodge interactions, and that too, it has to happen outside the federations. For example, I belong to Karnataka Federation, and if I talk about Kerala Federation or Telangana Federation or UP Federation, there is no much interactions between these lodges. For example, there may be a great program going on in Bhubaneswar Lodge, and the other people, the individuals who are interested, they do not have an avenue to participate in their program. So when we talk about universal brotherhood, the universal brotherhood has to start from our own homes. And for that, I strongly recommend that the National Federation will take note of this point, and to have, just for example, I'll just give you a simple example. Suppose an Assam lodge, the lodge in Assam, can have an interaction between a lodge in Kerala, so that the bond, the network of like-minded people can definitely improve, and thus bringing about a brotherly bond, a brotherly relationship to an higher extent. So this is one of the major points that I'm just putting forth. Yes, the other problem is every individual member. Let's say I believe we have somewhere around 19,000 odd members in our national federation, in Indian Federation. Every member who is interested to learn, who is more towards this path, should access to every information of what's happening around the other lodges. Because being a national speaker myself, visiting so many lodges in my own state, and sometimes the other states also, I recognize, or I feel strongly that yes, if a member has an access to the information, because this is the information age, and whenever he has that kind of information, definitely he can influence others to take part in this program, so that our programs can be in a better format. The next propagation I'm talking about is the external propagation. The external propagation requires our society, our the team reaching out to especially student community and so-called Gen Z, because I believe these Gen Z people have a lot of things to do in the propagation of this kind of knowledge which others are not giving. This requires a lot of other things. When it comes to our scientific propagation, we can also involve that. These people, especially the youngsters from the age group of, let's say, 15 to 20, if we can propagate this knowledge to them, definitely the next generation, this Gen Z generation, would be would be very good, and we will have fruitful results. The second aspect of external propagation is, yes, especially in the youth's mind, we have our own youth section, where we can create a scientific philosophical culture. I feel myself, because I joined a society when I was 6 years old, and I know, and when I started understanding the real nature of science, I always thought that yes, all these knowledge are definitely in the things that I have studied, whether it is in secret doctrine or other important books of theosophy. So we need to create a program in which science and philosophy are clubbed together so that the youth can definitely take part in our activities, so that we can have a bright and intelligent and smart theosophists in future. The third aspect of our external propagation is to encourage these youth to learn in a better way, or better way of life, by organizing youth camps, study camps, etc. In some parts it's happening, but the real fact is we have to do it in a bigger way, wherein which we can have youth camps, especially for the children, especially for youth, especially for students, where other than what life is, they have to be, we have to discuss them with openly, because when our generation doesn't discuss with these people about philosophy and the way of life, they will not be able to understand it properly. So to encourage them in a better way, and we need to organize such camps. In fact, I had given proposals also to conduct youth camps in different parts of India, where a Kerala students can interact with an UP student, so that the bonding would occur. So this is the second one, called external propagation. The third one, I call it as influential propagation. The problem with us is we are so philosophically involved, we tend to forget that we need to ask the society to take advantage of our knowledge, to learn more. Especially this could be done by TOS activities. When we influence society, we can ask them to participate, we can make them interested in participating in theosophical activities, and this could be done by TOS and youth wings. The second influential propagation that I would suggest is to create an awareness, and to make small presentations, wherein which, because I have heard a lot of youth saying theosophy is very difficult to learn. You talk about a lot of things which they call it, which passes away above my head. But instead of that, we can have we can have small a kind of booklets or presentation, where the basic knowledge of theosophy could be given, especially when it comes to universal brotherhood, especially when we talk about understanding every religion in a Sankhya way. All these things could be done. The next one is, yes, we have to have a lobbying system where each lodge could be given an exposure, and once suppose I am from let's say I'm from Davangere, where I have a lodge where my activities are going on. Once we expose ourselves to our own brethren, then definitely we can influence others to participate in such programs, to be competitively able to bring more knowledgeable people to the mainstream of occultism. Next is scientific propagation, which is the most important aspect of our discussion today. In this world, definitely whenever we speak of philosophy, we also speak of science. And most of the times philosophy is always misunderstood with religion or religious activities. To make them aware that religion is a separate aspect and philosophy is a separate aspect, we need to establish a core base. We have Theosophy has a lot of scientific knowledge, and this knowledge has to propagate so that these youth or the other people who think of science should also know that occultism is a metaphysical science and it is more than science, which is the knowledge is already available in theosophical knowledge. The second aspect is to draw a clear way between known and the unknown. We should draw a clear line between known and the unknown, because being a normal person, being the person who is into more physical activities, I always think that whatever I know is the truth. But when I talk about unknown, no, because it is unknown, even if it exists, I don't consider it as truth. So maybe we can draw to such people a clear line between the known and unknown. And this immense knowledge, especially I'll call it as gems, is already available in theosophical knowledge. The last scientific program that scientific propagation I would recommend is, yes, we have to explain the evolution on different dimensions, like the Darwinism and post-Darwinism, the growth of human. Because most of the youngsters I interact with, they say Homo sapiens is the end of a Darwinistic evolution theory. But what after Homo sapiens? And Theosophy has the better knowledge of the upper planes where this evolution takes place. Most of the times I consider this physical sciences, because we have two things, involution and evolution. Even involution is included in the evolution. So these misconceptions, these important negativisms that are existing in the society could be overcome, could be taken away by the immense knowledge we have. And especially I call it as Darwinism and post-Darwinism. So this is the scientific propagation. If we start doing it, definitely we could have much broader understanding of the knowledge, and even whoever comes with the hunger of knowledge could also get more in this. The last propagation I'm talking about is the technological propagation. Technological propagation that has to be changed in the present era, because I believe the most of the people who are above 60 or above 70 in our society, we have been, I am learning theosophy in the old style way. But that old methodology or old style would not interest the younger generation or the present generation to listen, to hear, to understand it properly. So we need the modern communicative methodologies. Especially today, the program is going on online, or it is also being put being live on YouTube. All such things, to it should reach the individual member, because it is the individual member who can explain and explore the knowledge, and he can give it to somebody else who is in need of it. The second one is, yes, that's what I was telling you. I call it as talk listen module. This talk listen module has to be replaced application tools, like especially visual presentations with more of content, pictures, because visual presentation affects 70% higher than the listening module, talk listen module. These visual presentations could be made, and when we make such presentations, the knowledge becomes more understandable and more effective. I'm also putting this could be in different languages also, since we have the multilingual people here. They can have their own these things using technology. It is not a major concern, or it is not a difficult task. It could be achieved. And the last one is to equip every large and to make them accessible to these technologies can bring a lot of changes. Especially, I always think of having a presentation given in my lodge by using a projector. And I also wish that if somebody else nearby in my lodge who cannot come to my lodge to get this knowledge can have a real time experience by just observing, and the interaction would become better. Once there is a lot of interaction that goes on, definitely we can have a lot of propagation activities, so the dissemination will be in a better and in a fruitful way. So these are my 5 point programs that I have thought as a consultant, and maybe if we start adopting it, definitely we can have a better future for our society and our institution. So I thank you. I don't know how much time I took, but I thank you for all the opportunity given, and uh, and I thank you. Pardon?
Vimalji, you unmute yourself. Oh, I, I made you. I made you co-host. Just a minute. Now you can do that. I made you co-host.
Yeah, my internet went, so I had to
Oh,
come back.
okay.
So thank you so much, Brother Adikeshav. There were so many interesting points in it, and some of it we are doing, some of it needs to be done, like the interlodge talents which are there, which thanks to, I think, the Indian section, we do get to see some great talents from the north or the south being shared, but more can be shared. You're very, very right, and this can lead to further discussion. So with this, we come to the end, and mine is the last talk. I think you have to. Okay, I'm able to share. Before sharing, I'll just say what my theosophic journey has been. Basically, I joined the society in 2010 because I was mourning the loss of my mother, and the main thing I was searching for is why was there so much suffering in her life. So that led me to Theosophy. And then I researched, studied, and after a point, I realized that I must do something. So then I started a support center for special needs families because I'm a caregiver of a special needs child. He's an adult now. So in that, I learned a lot, all the things that were lacking in me. There were so many things that I had to work on myself to be a good to run a good support center for other families. Then COVID hit us, and then the support center closed down. And then I discovered the online world. And thanks to Pradeep ji and the Indian section, I got a chance to moderate a lot of programs, and I learned a lot online. I literally learned the Mahatma letters thoroughly, or not thoroughly, means much better than I had already read it. But the way it was done in the Indian section, letter by letter, there's so much knowledge, core theosophy. It was truly amazing. So today I am still a caregiver of a child, is an adult. So it prohibits me from doing too much, leaving the house too much. So I always feel grateful for the online programs. So that is my brief summary of my life, theosophic life. So my topic is that is given to me is the importance and relevance of the Theosophical Society. So, when this topic was given to me, there was a question mark in that. So I was wondering, why is there a question mark at the end of it? So I was told that I have to tell the importance. The question is it relevant or important? And I have to answer, is it relevant or important? Now, if somebody asks this question, is the Theosophical Society relevant or important, in the early 1900s, let us say, any Indian. ಇವತ್ತು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ
ನಮಗಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಸೋತ್ನಲ್ಲಿದ್ದವರು ಅವರು
ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ? Can you hear me all? Hello. Okay,
Madam, we can hear you, madam. There was a
Oh.
disturbance. There was a
Okay.
disturbance. I'll ask
Okay.
who is making disturbance to mute this thing. Usha,
Alright.
you have to mute. Yes, madam. You
Okay.
can.
All right. So basically, 1900s, if you asked any Indian, educated Indian, they would know what the Theosophical Society is. They would know the importance of it. They would be easily able to tell you it helped started the home. Annie Besant started the Home Rule movement. She was the first Indian National Congress president. She had, they were doing many progressive changes in society, like anti-child marriage, anti-caste system, anti-sati, so many things they were doing. They were in touch with the leaders of the country, whether it was, as Arnie mentioned, whether it was Gandhiji or it was Nehru. Gandhiji has also gone to say that he was influenced by Madame Blavatsky. This is his words, and it's good to read it. Theosophy is the teaching of Madame Blavatsky. It is Hinduism at its best. Theosophy is the brotherhood of man. I recall having read Madame Blavatsky's Key to Theosophy. This book stimulated in me the desire to read books on Hinduism and disabused me of the notion fostered by the missionaries that Hinduism was rife with superstition. Now, this was the 1900s, but today, if you were to ask any educated Indian also, it's not at all sure whether we will get an answer to such a question, because most of these things are not known to most people here. What is the reason for that? Because no longer do our leaders, our representatives come in the front pages of newspapers like how Annie Besant did, or in Blavatsky's time, when Blavatsky came in the front pages of both sides of the world. Then also, like, slowly, the people have become more inward looking. At one time, Tim Boyd did say this to us when we were going inside the campus after one School of Wisdom program. He said that the campus is an inward looking place. It looks to me also that the Theosophical Society itself has become a little inward looking, is not doing enough of an outreach program for the normal people to know. So most people in India, if you ask them, they may even think that this is a historical organization, that it doesn't exist anymore, that we don't have vibrant programs like the picture that you see of the international conference that we have every December, the 1,000 that come during the conference. People don't know that we are a very vibrant organization. So, for example, do you all know, or any of you know, that the Freemasons are still a working organization in India? Do you all know that they have their lodges, they have their meetings, they have their uniform, all that's still being practiced in India? How many of us know that? Very few of us. I had to look at it, and it's there in Chennai too. They do have a beautiful hall. They have their whatever, they do what the things they do. So the question is that, are we relevant today, is a very difficult question to answer, because it does look like the answers in the negative. Very few students who are interested in philosophy or Sanskrit literature come to do their PhD and then come into our library and do more research. Sometimes one TS member tells somebody about the programs that happen here, and then people come here. That often seems to happen. Mostly it's a kind of word of mouth thing. People don't read about us in social media that easily, or in the newspapers that easily, and then come to us. That's not happening. So it's more of a word of mouth, family to family, friend to friend kind of spreading. Now, to understand what is going on in India, I'm going to focus on India just like Arnie did, because it is easier, because as an Indian, I can understand this topic better in that way. Firstly, let us look at why was India chosen to be the headquarters. Obviously, you all will say that because we have the Sanskrit literature and we have the Vedas, we had all that. But that was not the only reason. The one beautiful reason has been analyzed by the author of The Light of Asia, Edwin Arnold. If some of you who are new here have not read The Light of Asia, it's a beautiful prose poetry on the life of the Buddha, and I would suggest all you read it. So Edwin Arnold says, I knew Madame Blavatsky very well, and one minute. I believe there is no doubt that the Theosophical movement has had an excellent effect upon humanity. Now, this is in late 19th century that he is talking. The book was released in around 1878, I think, when this Light of Asia. It has made a large number of people understand what all India always understood, and that is the importance of invisible things. The real universe is that which you do not see. And the communist Indian peasant knows that to be true by inheritance. The Theosophists have impressed upon the present generation the necessity of admiring the existence of the invisible. The senses are very limited, and everybody ought to know that behind them lies an illimitable field of development. Now, today's Indian, what I think, today's Indian are they will in fact, if Madam Blavatsky and Olcott had come to Madras today or Mumbai today, would they have been able to establish the Theosophical Society? Come in the front pages? Would the editors of the newspapers call them to their homes and host them? I don't think so. Because today's Indians are no longer like that. They are blinded, according to me, by materialism and excessive religiosity. So I did a little research on this. The number of people who visit the Vaishno Devi temple, which is in Kashmir, Jammu, 90 crores annually. And Tirupati, that is 9 million people. No, 90 crores. That will be much more than 9 million. 90 million, I guess. Tirupati, 2.7 crores. Ayodhya is 22 crores. Mecca is 2 crores, and Velangani Church in Karikal is also 2 crores. So at one time, I mean, worship for us Indians was just a small puja room where we would quietly do our worship, or a temple down the street. Today, there's mass tourism and hectic going of temple or church or mosque visiting, especially amongst Indians of all religious texts. So how are we going to solve this problem? How are we going to talk about esoteric truths to these kinds of people? For example, how many people in India would leave all this mass worship and search for the truth in the sanctuary of their own hearts and minds, which is what Theosophy talks about all the time? How many people will understand that when we meditate, we are really trying to control the elementals, which are subatomic or some particles, physical particles in our physical body, our astral body, which is our emotional body, and our mental body. So that all these bodies are made up of certain particles, which we are trying to control in our meditation so that they have less of a control on us and we have a control over our physical body. That is why we meditate. Or, for example, how many people will realize that no saint or angel or deva out there is going to change your karma for you? Whatever you have to face, whatever pain, sorrow, difficulty is a consequence of something that you did, or some action, some thought. So, this is the law of the universe, and nobody can alter this. Nobody is going to come around to change the karma that you have given to your own self. For this law of karma is almost like a deity by itself. And in such an atmosphere, how are we going to make theosophy important or relevant? How are we going to make a place in the hearts and minds of people? So I'm just an ordinary TS worker, and my instincts are to go back to the basics. And I feel that it's very important to show why Theosophical Society needs to be there for the future. Because there are very few organizations that are trying not to be corrupt, are trying to be pure, and not trying to have any power. They are not trying to proselytize, that means change other people's religions. They are not trying to make money out of the whole thing. Whatever donation comes, or however they manage it. Somehow they manage it. I don't know. There are so many ways they manage the finances without asking rampantly for donations. And if you look at it, the thing that I feel, HPB in the Vishnu Puran, she translated the Vishnu Puran and she talks about how Kali Yuga will be. And if you look at how Kali Yuga will be, it will give you an idea of why it is important and relevant to support and take care of the Theosophical Society today, whatever it takes. This is what HPB says about the Vishnu Puran. She says, in the about Kali Yuga in the Vishnu Puran. She says, wealth and piety will be until the world will be wholly depraved. Property alone will confer rank. Wealth will be the only source of devotion. Passion will be the sole bond between the sexes. Falsehood, falsehood will be the only means of success in litigation. And women will be objects merely of sensual gratification. If A man, if rich, will be reputed pure. A man, if rich, will be reputed pure. Dishonesty, anyaya, will be the universal means of subsistence. So, this is the kind of people, this is the kind of society that is envisaged during the Kali Yuga. Can you imagine this? And if people are like this, isn't it very, very important for some pure organizations to exist? And don't we see the trend already as women being treated as sex object, only people with wealth being given importance? You see the trends of people. Like, we can see these things, that we are losing our foundations of morality when there is so much poverty and suffering and injustice in the world. People, ordinary middle class, upper middle class people in India are having lavish weddings, lavish celebrations, gift exchanges of an extreme order, huge differences in the incomes of the poor and the rich. So in all this, definitely TS has a role to play and is relevant. Now, how are we going to do all this? What is the method we are going to do to sustain our society and uh, ensure that it keeps on going? In this context, we've already seen Adi Keshav Brother's talk on propagation. And I'll just add a few points because already we have crossed our time. So I'll add a few points. Here, there's a letter, a Mahatma letter number 111, in which Master K.H. says, the theosopher's duty is like that of a farmer, to turn the furrow and sow his grains as best as he can. The issue is with nature, and she, that is nature, is the slave of law. So, what the theosophist is expected to do is to do something for people so that maybe that sowing of that seed will, by whatever is the quality of that person's nature, will develop into a better quality person. In this context, I will just talk about one beautiful article written by one young Indian not Indian, young theosophist, Merike Matsep from Estonia. And this was in the magazine which Arnie shared with me, the Synergy Journal. She said that she actually is working now for the last 1 year in 1 year plus in Adyar. She has various roles in the TS Adyar. And she's also the director of the World Federation of Young Theosophists for this recent period. The article which she has written in this magazine is called The Silent Guardians of Theosophy. Now, she talks in this article about three people who inspired her to become a theosophist. One was a library in the TS Center in Estonia. Second was a Finnish speaker who would come from Helsinki regularly and give a speech in that TS Center. And third was a youngster who shared some books with her, just out of a sense of brotherliness, shared freely some books with her. She says that these three things, that these people's selflessness made her more devoted into thinking about theosophy, reading those books and trying to understand. And that's how today she's sacrificed so much and is working for the society. So what I think is that all of Mary Kay's experiences happened thanks to there being a center in Tallinn, Estonia, where there was a library, there was a space for talks and meetings. So one of the key things is that we need to support our centers. We need to take care of our lodges. We need to ensure that we have regular meetings and we take care of the schedules that we are expected to do. That is every week or every month to do something in our lodge meetings. And if you feel discouraged that there aren't enough crowds, please remember about that story of William Quan Judge, who was one of the three founders, which who it says in the Theosophic lore that he hired a hall, printed the pamphlets and arranged a meeting in which he was supposed to talk, and not even one person came in the audience. He had no problem. He gave his entire talk to the empty audience and came back home. So that doesn't matter. This is our work. We need to keep doing that work. Another thing is, many theosophists wonder whether the masters are still behind this work. Are we really doing something for the masters? Do the masters really expect us to do this work? In this context, it's good to read the letter written by Blavatsky to the London Lodge when they were floundering. So she said that if in the life of a theosophist, there is a nidana. There's a nidana, that is a cause and effect. So certain things seem to happen in the life of a theosophist in terms which are seen very coincidental. And so she says in this that those drifting events, that is, those things which happen, those drifting events of which life that is composed, for no better proof can you get of the invisible presence among yourselves. So these strange things that happen in our lives as theosophists may be the reason, maybe because of the invisible presence amongst us. That's what she's indicating. So, can we all become more sensitive to the intuitive directions that these invisible presences give to us? Can we align our hearts and minds to know what we have to do? I cannot tell you what you have to do. You, each of us, have to find out what we have to do to make theosophy more important, more relevant in the world today. So I think I will cut short my talk because our time is up. And I'll just, there's a lot that I had planned to say, but in the, just in the spirit of the day, it's better to keep it short. I'd just like to end by saying that we are the palanquin bearers of the beautiful Theosophical Society. We need to ensure its continuity into the centuries from now, when hurt mankind will search for the eternal flowers of truth and will find them flourishing in the nursery of the Theosophical gardens world over. Thank you so much. So we can open up for any discussions, comments. Rajan ji is there, Shinde ji is there. We have some new people, Amita Pense, whose artwork we really enjoyed during the recent School of Wisdom. We have Deka, we have Jitendra ji. Any of you can jump in anytime. Sushma ji, 150th year. Come on.
Each and everyone can open their video. Now it is allowed.
Thank you, Vimal ji.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
was excellent presentation. I must say, I must commend you for the insightful and very personalized way of bringing out these thoughts about how relevant we can make each individually the theosophical work amongst us. I really commend you, and yes, it's a food for thought for every one of us, and I hope that all of us take it forward from here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mita. Thank you.
Vimalji, thank you so much. What a lovely talk. Thank you very much, Vimalji. Thanks.
Now, I would request you to thank all of us because we've all put super hard work in this.
Yes, so all of you, Brother Arnie, and I've forgotten the name of the other person who spoke so
Adikesh.
well. Yes,
Adikesh.
Anikesh. So, Brother Anikesh, thank you very much because it was very nice, your talk on propagation of Theosophy. Very, very well done. Thank you. Vimalji, I also listened to your Bhagavad Gita class with Brother Charlie. You're the one who gives the classes?
Not me. That is another fantastic speaker, Vibha Saxena.
Okay. Sorry, I mistook the two of you. Thank you very, very much.
If you people are interested in the Mahatma letter study, which is core Theo, then we have it in our Theosophy India playlist. You can learn a lot more of Theosophy from her. Yes, Shindeji.
Okay.
Yes, Shindeji will say something. Yes, sir.
Oh, I must thanks all the three speakers. Brother Arani, very well presented, and Adi Keshav, very scholarly presented, and what to be done. That also he put a projection. And Vimalji is more, what I can say, ask us to go beyond words, to see beyond the words. That is the esoteric parts he dealt. I liked all these three speakers. So all religious traditions are concerned with the opening of our hearts and minds to something extraordinary and sacred, which is a transcendent reality beyond our personal selves. That is the aim of all religions. And so when we Hindu utter a word God, then automatically it means Allah to Muslim. If we have learned to listen beyond the words. So when Hindu utters a word God, it means Allah to Muslim and Buddha to Buddhist and Jesus to Christians. Naturally, when all religions are asking this, if they say Allah, we don't mind. Immediately we see our God in that beyond words. So it is not that we are unable to cross the fence of words. We do cross when we really bow in adoration to the inner government, which we speak about the masters of the wisdom and compassion. It is quite true. It is many times repeatedly said, the word Buddha is not Buddha. The word Krishna is not Krishna. The word Jesus is not Jesus. But to the individual beyond the fence of word, that we try to connect. And HPB's last word for that, she said, keep the link unbroken. And also in meditation diagram, she always emphasized, keep behind your mind unity and expand that unity in space and time. It is only the method that we can carry on. And this we are in the 150th year, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, universal brotherhood. When we say Vasudeva Kutumbakam, universal brotherhood, human family, so the brotherhood is the foundation for the universal morality, and freedom of thought and universal brotherhood are the two pillars. But when we look at human family in perspective of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, especially Indian people, they must cultivate harmony within and without. How? By bringing the harmonization of the 5 elements within. So if we are considering the human family as the Vasudeva Kutumbakam, then think of Akasha Tattva or ether, source of all other elements of this human family. Friends as air element, kindness as fire element, honesty as water element, and humility as the earth element. Then we can attain this nucleus of universal brotherhood and work for the human family. This is what I want to contribute in this 150th year. My greetings and good wishes for all of you. You have contributed very this because we also bring brotherhood of all religions. That is the aim of our the Theosophical Society as the cornerstone, bringing all the religions together. And when we understand this beyond the words, your all 3 lectures, they have given a right direction to whole world now. And I congratulate all the speakers for their good contribution. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Shindeji. Your blessings are always needed, sir. Thank you. So I think we thank for all the comments and all of you for patiently listening. And please don't go away. We have a divine prayer seeing person, Vitalini sister, whom I always invite, and I'm glad she's here. And I would request her to say the closing prayers. Thank you.
Thank you everybody. असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मां अमृतंगमय सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तो निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु न कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।